Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with our friend, our pilot, our author, and so much more. And yes, the book, it's here, it's out. Bring Freedom to Potential, a true story of overcoming and soaring above the storms of life. We have our amazing coach here, and his name, of course, Randy Swaim. And he's been here for so many years, helping so many in so many different ways. Excited to talk about his book, about his coaching, and of course, all the ways you guys can work together and physically fly and take off together. How are you?
Good, man. It's good to be with you again. It's awesome and great to be here.
Yeah, what are the updates? It's been quite a few weeks since we've spoken, but there's new time listeners out there. We got to get to know you, but I know the latest and greatest was the book, which is finally out, right?
Yes, it's out there, and it's I'll just share this with you very quickly here. But the first couple of people that read it were blew me away. They were people that knew me. They were sort of friends and everything, and it's interesting. One lady, kind of texted me, and we don't usually text. About once a week we see each other in a collateral environment and stuff like that, kind of thing. But we she texted me, and she simply said, I'm reading your book and I can't put it down. And she said, this is so amazing, and everything. And so it's just, the insights that people have brought from reading the book have been kind of amazing to me. But it's, that's what it's about with me. I don't want to just call attention to myself or anything like that. It is my story. But what I hope for is, and I think you've heard me say this before, but 20 years after I take my last breath, I don't mind if somebody doesn't exactly remember my name. But what I hope is that they remember that there was this guy 20 years ago that I learned this insight from, maybe the book, maybe something that they read in the book, and it just made a difference in my life. And that's what I want, just to have a impact, even if people don't remember your name or call attention to you.
What makes you feel so good? Really, you quite accomplished, quite humbled, and you've lived an amazing life, and continue to. And I know you always say that, you may not remember my name, but you'll remember what I've done. And it's true. You've been, well, you are a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach,
Yep.
founder of your own company.
You can
You have
see
an
it back here.
amazing background. Yeah, I mean, you've done so much in your life. I mean, is there anything that you haven't done that you need to do before you pass? I'm just asking because you've done it all. Being in the
Well,
Navy, I mean, come on.
the Air Force. I'll be honest with that, but
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, the Air Force. Thank
well,
you,
that's
thank you.
okay. They're both of value, no two ways about it. But yeah,
Ah,
I will say this: that the very last line I had in my
ah.
autobiography, I had it underlined in bold, and it just said, "For such a time as this." And you know what? You know, everything that I've done, everything that I've learned from, everything that I've had to overcome and develop, and all that kind of stuff, is key for people that hopefully get some insights from just some of the stories, some of the insights, and it makes a difference for them. Yeah, not that they're out talking about me necessarily, but I mean they can if they want to, but um, that it's a benefit. And what I hope for is that my story and my overcoming journey and my lessons learned and just things that I've learned, I hope are just a benefit to
Mm-hmm.
society and to the world, kind of thing.
Ah.
And that's really a reason why I do so much of what I do here. And I'm so happy to be on the radio show here with you. And I know there's been a number of shows with you, and I just appreciate so much of just being able to get some of those insights out.
What did you have in mind for us today? What type of stories are we diving into? We're talking more about the book, where you've been, who you're coaching.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do today is bring a key component that a lot of people don't realize. And one of the things that, and I think you know this, um, and it's actually on the lower part of this back here. But one of the concepts that is trademarked for me out of Washington is the concept of organizational maneuverability, and it's the idea of when you're leading your teams, you can't just go with rote superficial academic things anymore, because things change, things go, are variable, and they aren't just wrote stuff and everything. And what I wanted to do was to just bring one concept today that a lot of people will probably be a little bit surprised at, but it's a real concept of true synergism, of true synergy, and what that really means, because a lot of people in today's world don't understand that in one sense. So that's what I'm going to bring.
Well, you bring a lot to the table, as always. Do you ever let me just stray 1 second on this
Okay.
topic, but do you ever travel? Do you take a break? Are you always working? Do anything, how do you rejuvenate, reinvigorate? How do you, yeah, because you always seem like you're on the go, which is great, but there's got to be some downtime, no?
Well, and there is, and there does come, bring some time
Uh-huh.
when I get together and have dinner with my two non-biological grandkids, and being in touch with with them and their parents, and things like that, and getting together with them every now and then. And there's a lot of things, like at the church that I go to. I don't do like a whole lot of stuff there, but people get a real different sense of application of some of the truths that they pick up on and everything. And so everything that I do, I'm not teaching people all the time, but just the communications sometimes give them some positive insights that they didn't see before. And a lot of times that can even be in a short conversation you're having in downtime, kind of thing, or and all that. So, but yeah, I do, because I am very busy with the ION and the NPN hub over in Germany,
Yeah.
and I'm a master level, certified master level neuroplastician with them now, and
Yeah, I mean, the schooling, the training, you do it all.
yeah,
You don't
and
stop.
so it does there's a lot of stuff to be connected with, but you know what, it just keeps your thinking going. It just kind of gives you aspects of applying kind of what you bring, and seeing results in other people, and things of that nature. But also there's a time where you kind of have to go down and kind of go and just think about it, for a little bit. Not that you're wrong, but because things change, and the situations that you're connected with can be a little different
Yeah.
than the academic picture. And that's going to be a central part of kind of what I'm bringing today, here. So that's all a key part of it.
Oh, well, thank you. Let's continue the conversation. And by the way, the book, how do we reach you? How do we get the book? All that stuff. We didn't even talk
Oh,
about
okay.
that yet.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I'll just share this. It's a very quick, easy way, because
Sure.
if they go to my Coaching for Relevance website,
Ah,
which is up
perfect.
here, if you go to the coachingforrelevance.com website, what happens is, the homepage comes up, but about 3 seconds or so after the homepage comes up, a banner comes up about the book.
Mm,
And if you don't want to do that right there, you can kind of click on the X and it'll go away and stay on my website. But if you go right down below the picture of the book, there's a little link that says get your copy. And if you
yeah.
and if you click on that, it takes you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase it. And
Okay.
and like I said, the if I would recommend generally purchasing it from Amazon, because there's two ways you can purchase it. One is from Kindle, and one is from Amazon. Kindle gives a digital download of it, and most people would like to have a hard copy where they can kind of highlight or whatever, that kind of thing. But you got either option on it. But that's the easiest way to do it. Just go straight to my website, and about 3 seconds or so after you come up on almost any page, you'll see that banner come up for my autobiography. And if you just go down under the picture there, you'll see a link that says get your copy, and you click on that, and it takes you right to Amazon, the page that you can purchase it from. So that's the easy way to do it.
Oh, thank you for that. All right, Randy, we are joined here live today by you on the podcast, the Zoomcast, as always. Looking forward to this. What else is happening in the world? What did you want to dive into for today?
Well, here, and this will be a little bit quick, but we'll be able to talk a little bit about it. And if you have a question or a thought, you can kind of
Sure.
throw it in here. But it deals with a quote. And I'm going to give a quote really, but it's a real true picture of true synergy and synergism, because a lot of people in today's society think of it wrong. They almost think of it like, okay, it's just making sure everybody's doing it the same way and thinking the same and all that kind of stuff. But let me just give you this quote, and it came from actually Dr. David Jeremiah. He brought it out in more of a faith-based thing, and I'm not bringing any religion into it or whatever, but it's a true central piece of true leadership. And so let me give you the quote, and then I'm going
Sure.
to kind of expand on it just a little bit. And it deals with the concept of synergism. And here's the quote. It says, synergism is the working together of various elements to produce an effect that's greater than and often completely different from the sum of each element if they were acting separately.
Yes.
And that is a huge key aspect. And the central kind of theme that I wanted to sort of bring that to today is this kind of concept. If your thought of synergy and all is that everybody's got to be thinking the same, and I'll tell you what, if you go out there and talk to a lot of people, you'll find some managers out there that don't understand the true aspect of this, and they think that the answer of making it just a team element or just, all that means everybody's thinking exactly the same. Everybody's on the same page. They're saying the same thing. They're doing the same thing and all that. But guess what? In a challenging environment, because this quote is very aligned and this correct definition of synergism is very aligned with my organizational maneuverability concept, because not everything fits a rote academic aspect. And what I tell a lot of people is that, guess what? When you think of what your goal is and what your vision is for going forward, guess what? There's going to come factors that come on scene that you would have never predicted or never expected. If so, how are you going to handle that?
True.
Kind of thing. And if you think about it, one of the things, and I'll share with you the basic picture of this that I wanted to bring, because when you look at it and when you think about, say, the 6 or 8 people that are maybe on your team reporting to you and everything in this mission, in this vision, in this goal, guess what? 1 or 2 of the people may have a lot more experience than the other people. But you know what? They may be making assumptions on academically what it's supposed to be, perhaps.
True.
You may have 2 or 3 people that have a little bit less experience, but because of that, maybe because of they see some factors kind of coming on the scene that are different that nobody would have expected. And they may sense a real challenge with that factor, possibly. Now, it doesn't mean that they should just argue back and forth about it, because that's not teamwork. But if you have a conversation, a lot of times the people that may be slightly less experienced in it may sense something that when they communicate it, the experienced people said, you know what, that's a good point. Let's look at that for a second. And just, not to spend all day talking about it, but to look at it and say, okay, well, what, as a coach, one of the things I might share to them is, well, what kind of insights would you expect to be looking for if that was going to come in and have an effect? Oh, this and this. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, if you see that starting to happen, why don't you kind of think about that? And as soon as you start seeing that happen, why don't you tell the rest of the team? Kind of thing, because they may have some aspects of it that the rest of the team didn't, because they're totally focused on that sort of rote centered sort of academic aspect of it. And in today's world, when not everything fits a rote academics, picture, you got to be ready for that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of people that their experience has come from just a rote academic growth where they haven't really had to kind of look at or focus on possibly other factors that they didn't expect. And you know what? One of the things when you're talking about the true synergism and the true synergy in your team, one of the things you've got to, as a leader, one of the things you've got to do is lead and model that type of oneness where, guess what? Some of those successful conversations can happen, not because you're trying to force these people to shut up and just go do this, but share what your experience, what you see in this factor that's coming on. And they have a conversation about that. And they, whoa, okay, kind of thing. And they can put together the strategy, because guess what? There's sometimes where, in order to be successful on your strategy, your team has to turn to the left or right a little bit to adapt and adjust a little bit in order to get to success. And so, are you aware of kind of how you may need to do that, and get that kind of awareness and that kind of picture and that kind of oneness in here? Because as the quote kind of said, guess what? Sometimes the end picture may look slightly different than you thought, but it may be looking a whole lot bigger and a whole lot greater than you would have thought. And so it's a good picture of this aspect of true leadership, true synergism, and all of this. And I'll, it's something that a lot of people in today's world, and as you probably realize, Jill, in a lot of places in our societies around, when you think about education, you have people that are just giving you rote academic things and just, you give me the answer I'm looking for, as opposed to, what's the truth in this? What's the application of this in what you're doing? And kind of how does that need to be, adjusted? And sometimes, how do you need to sort of adapt that a little bit? And are you aware of that? And do you have a touch of clarity as a team where you can build the clarity on, I'll tell you what, we don't want to change our objective, but you know what? Let's adapt this here a little bit to get there, to increase our chances of getting there. And so this aspect, this quote was a very good quote when you're talking about leading your teams, because you know what, when you talk about true synergy, or as the word that they talked about, the true synergism, kind of thing of it in your team, guess what? That doesn't mean everybody's thinking the same. And as a leader in that team, I don't want everybody thinking the same. There are some people that, when a unique factor that comes on board, I don't want people shutting their brain off and just saying, well, here's where we're going. Just kind of, now, if it's something that's not going to be an issue, guess what? You don't need to worry about it. But what if it changes a little bit and it's not an issue today, but 3 weeks down the road, it will be? Are you aware of how you're going to develop your strategic thinking to be able to watch for the factors of when that's coming on scene? And do we have a degree of clarity on how we're going to adapt, so we don't have to sit here and spend a day just talking about what we need to do, kind of thing? And so these are just aspects that, when you're talking about this whole aspect of true team synergy and true synergism, it doesn't mean you're all exactly the same. When you're talking about being one, guess what? You all have different insights. You all have different parts of the strategy. You all have different parts of the goal as to where you're going. And you know what? Are you working together as a team? If you're shutting your people down because they're telling you about a factor that's coming on board, you're disconnecting it. And so there's a lot of aspects about that when you talk about true team synergy and true synergism. There's a lot of factors about that come into play that a lot of people today don't fully understand, because guess what? The academic aspect of it tends to just say, well, this is what's right. And I don't know, you may have heard people say this too, Jill, but you'd be surprised at how many people I've heard, when something didn't work out just the way they wanted. And I can think of one guy right now and a look on his face when he said it, when he goes, well, that should have been like this, but it wasn't, when it didn't work out. That should have been like this, but it wasn't. They don't understand this concept, and they don't understand how you need to adapt. It's not just about you trying to force your way or, all that kind of stuff, but it's just this whole aspect of what true team synergy is and true synergism. It's really about not just that you're all exactly the same. I mean, are you going in the same direction? Do you want to reach the same goals? Yeah. But what part of the goals had you not seen before? Maybe that when this new factor comes on, all of a sudden you go, wow, we can get way beyond that goal, kind of thing. And so when you talk about this truth of synergism and how this comes into play, that is just a big factor when you're talking about leading teams, particularly in an organizational maneuverability scenario, which is a lot of our world today. And so, just like I say, I'll just kind of re-quote this, but it's a key point. And there have been times in my life where that has had to be done. And in my autobiography, we'll mention one or two of them, at least, kind of thing, in my flying career. But I will say this, that again, I'll just kind of re-quote this as a reminding people of it. But synergism is the working together of various elements to produce an effect that's greater than and often completely different from the sum of each element if they were acting separately. And synergism, doesn't mean you're all the same. Are you kind of working in the same direction as a team? Yeah, but guess what? Different people might bring different benefits to what you're trying to accomplish. And are you letting that happen? And is that acting as one? And so it's just a key point on that. And if you're trying to make everybody else be exactly the same, think the same, just do the same, which is unfortunately more popular than people would want to believe in our world. But if that's your mindset, you're taking synergy and throwing it in the trash can. And so it's just a key point when you're talking about this part of your team. It's a key point as a leader. How are you modeling it? How are you leading it? How are you helping create it within your team? And you know what? There's a time when somebody's frustrated as all get out on your team. And if you just try to point fingers and control them, you're disconnecting it. If you sit down with them and have a conversation and you hear what they're sharing with you, you're modeling something different. And so it's just a key part of this whole synergistic aspect of it, but it is critical in teams today. And so it's just a key aspect of that. And that's just what I wanted to share.
Well, you're all about teamwork making the dream work. And we still
Yep.
have 4 minutes left, and I don't want to cut you short. So what else did you want to add to the conversation for today?
Well, this is key, and what I'll just say is that it's key in today's world. But of course, as a pilot, I bring a lot of this aspect to pilots that I train and certify in jet pilots and everything, because guess what? In pilots, this is key. Because guess what? You may have something that happens to your airplane while you're flying that you wouldn't have expected, kind of thing. Or you may have factors going into an airport that you would have never guessed. Can you make the right decision as a team when you do that? And so it's just key when you're talking about leading teams and having an insight on this and how you're really building that oneness together. And what does that really look like? Is it trying to hide some of the things that you need to be aware of? And like I said, my autobiography actually talks about one or two aspects like that from the flying career. Nothing where things were done wrong or anything like that, but just aspects where some of that can be learned and everything. And it's just, but it's a key point because it's not just about filling superficial rote academic things. It's about really getting your team together so when things are unexpected, they can still reach radical results. And with your team, that's what you've got to do. And one of the ways that you get there is through this real concept of true synergism and team synergy, and having an insight as to what that really is like. And that is just a key thing for leaders and teams to understand and get a sense. And so it's just, and I'll just share in my autobiography, I mentioned this, I think I may have shared it on the show, but I'll just do this real quick. But there was, we ended up having to come back to our base at Griffiths Air Force Base late one day, just because the people we were flying with were late. And the mechanic, it was about 9, I think it was about 9 or 9:30 p.m. The mechanic said, well, hey, you know, you were supposed to be back. What? And I just turned around, and I didn't make it bad, but I just said, well, we had to wait for the client, you know, kind of thing. And he thought that I was really being mad. So he just walked out of the room really and went out to the airplane to start refueling it. But being the manager, I knew I didn't do that, but I knew his perception. And I walked out to him and I sat there. I said, hey, Bill, I said, I just want to share one thing with you. He said, what's that? And I said, going forward, I'm your boss. And I'm telling you, if you've got a question you want to ask me, you ask it anytime. It was okay that you asked that in there. And I said, I want you to know that if you got to ask a question, don't be silent. You ask it. And he was very appreciative of that reaction and everything. But it's just, there's a lot of ways where that can be very subtle in the way it comes into it. And, but having different people that have different experiences, different backgrounds, different awareness in a given situation, that can be a great benefit for your team. But how are they going to work it together to truly reach radical results? And that's something that people need to be aware of, and leaders need to be aware of.
Thank you for being here today. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and it's always a pleasure speaking with you, Randy. Tell us the book, coachingforrelevance.com. We can find it there. And how else should we reach out to you?
You can email me to Randy at coachingforrelevance.com. And you can, and on that email, it's not coaching FOR, it's coaching #4 relevance.com. And, but you can also go check my website. You can email me from there too. And it also has my cell phone on it. So you can call me. If you do call me, leave a message, because if I don't recognize the number and nobody leaves a message, I'm going to let it go to message before I answer it, just in case it's not spam stuff and everything. But,
perfect.
But yeah, be glad to have a conversation with anybody.
Same here.
I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be on with you again, Jill. Look forward to doing it again.
Same here, babe. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. You have a great day, sweetheart. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.